this is not a bad film. I know, it's shocking. A lot of people say it's bad. It's not. It just, unfortunately, is the film that's basically came out after a really fucking good trilogy. And I think that's its main problem, is it came out after a really good trilogy, like top echelon fucking kaiju films. And unfortunately, this one ain't as good. It feels... I think I said this in the commentary, but when I was watching this, it feels very much like a Showa era film, in that it's very kid-focused, which, yeah, some people may like, some people may not like. But for me, not a fan personally. Was not a fan of, you know, in comparison to the previous films. Like, do I think it's bad? No, I do not think it's bad. It's very much kid focused. I kind of would have liked a little bit more in some ways, because there's a few elements to this I'm like, oh, that's a little bit gory. I'm like, if you're going for a kid focus, go all the way. Don't do half and half like this. There's a bit where, like, I can't remember what the enemy kaiju is. Oh, Zed. There you go. Zedeus. It's like the enemy kaiju who just, like, outright fucking eats people. It's kind of like, yeah, you see some blood on like the characters and stuff, and you see him kind of chow down. I'm like, what? I'm like, are you guys trying to make this kid focused or not? They basically made Gamera very cutesy, because essentially I'd say original Gamera, because this feels like it feels like it's a film that is trying to kind of like take out the like last Showa era film, kind of ignore that, and just kind of be more of a sequel to the the previous Showa era film. Let me just pull up the films. So yeah, trying to basically get rid of Gamera Super Monster, which is fair enough, and then being like a kind of a sequel to Gamera Zigra. I don't know if that's the intention. It's kind of unclear. Kind of Gamera has this marking. Basic Gamera goes like, does the kind of Vegeta suicide in Dragon Ball Z, where he just fucking blows up and destroys a whole bunch of Gaius. And yeah, that's kind of how he goes out. Obviously, it's not implied that this is a direct sequel to that. But considering that they picked, yeah, this film is supposed to be the celebration of the anniversary, but because they didn't pick, like, you know, I would have assumed if it was going to be, if it wasn't like a direct sequel, I would have assumed they'd just be like, this was from, like, you know, 1965, which is when the original film came out. Which is, yeah, they were going to release this in 2005, but they kind of missed the mark. Yeah, to me, if they were going to do that kind of date, it would have made more sense. But I guess in some ways they're like, well, they can't do that because the main character, like, because the characters is like the dad. He'd be too old, technically, being his 40s, but still. So for saying this is, yeah, so this film takes place in 2000. Well, it was supposed to be 2005, as I say, it takes place in 2005. And yes, it's 73. So he's, you know, in his 30s with a kid. In his 40s with a kid is not that crazy. And maybe for Japan, because, you know, once you pass like a certain age in Japan, you're no longer allowed to be featured in anything or as a main character. But it's, yeah, it feels like it's supposed to be a sequel in the Showa era. Like, it fits very much in the Showa era. Like, it feels very much like a modern Showa era film. Like, it's very kid focused, which is what a lot of the old Gamera films were. Yeah, the Heisei era is more like teenage focused. Yeah, it feels like Gamera's grown up. Yeah, the franchise has kind of grown up and become more teenage focused because people have grown up a bit more. Grown up with the series. This feels like it's going back in a certain way, which, yeah, maybe people don't like too much. Fair enough. And yeah, I don't think it's as good as the Heisei era one, but it's not bad. Yeah, because Godzilla is very cutesy because it's the son of Gamera. It's like he was a little egg, and then he kind of hatched, and he formed a bond with the main character, who is Toro. He calls Gamera Toto, mostly because he keeps blessing the rains down in Africa. I had to get that reference in. Thank you. Good night. So yeah, he basically becomes like that, and then he has has to kind of try and hide the turtle because they live in a restaurant essentially. They live above a restaurant because his dad owns a restaurant. They kind of have to be careful and not have animals in. So he kind of has to hide him until it gets too big. And eventually gets too big, and then he ends up fighting the main kaiju of this film. And then he has some weird red glowy thing that he gives to his friend who is going in for surgery, and then the person in surgery goes, after the surgery is like, we need to get this to Gamera. And then the kids all of a sudden have a relay race with this thing to try and get it to Gamera. It's weird, but all the kids just instinctively know that they need to do this, and this is very important. Some kind of, for some reason, the kids all have some kind of psychological link where they all know they should do this. It's weird. I'm telling you right now, it's very fucking weird. But they finally get it to him, and then Gamera ends up saving the day, and then kind of fucks off. No, because basically Gamera is really fucking beat out of this fight, and then the kind of army showing up, going, we're gonna capture Gamera, and they're like, no, you're not, and they kind of form a block to try and stop them from taking Gamera, so Gamera can get away. Excluding the fact that they could probably walk around, but whatever. No, but like I said, the film isn't bad, but it feels like it should have been more kid focused. There's certain parts of them, would you show that to a kid? I don't know if you would. Maybe you could just cut out a few of those scenes, and then it'd be very much a good film for kids. But because of the way it's presented, I'm like, it's not really. Ultimately, I'm like, no, it kind of fails there a little bit. But yeah, ultimately, I don't. It's a very simple film. It looks good. I'm trying to think of it. I can't remember if there's. It's mostly suitmation, so it's not. It doesn't look bad. But it's trying to remember if there was any really shaky CGI. I don't think there was. It was good, and it was kind of a cutesy story. It's like I said, it just feels a bit weird because there's certain elements I'm like, that doesn't seem like it's supposed to be kid friendly. But mostly it is. Mostly. Do I think it's the best Gamera film? No. I'd say it's better than a lot of the show era. It's very simplistic. But that's almost to its advantage, where it's nice and easy to follow. It's just a nice, enjoyable Gamera film. Nothing about it. I'm like, nah, nothing about it. I say it's bad. It's just overall, it's alright. It's alright as a film. It's just alright. It's very much, it's alright. But because it's essentially kind of included in this set with all these three great films. All three of these great films right here. That's the problem. Is all these three films are great. These films are great. And this film is okay. It's just, yeah, okay to good kind of thing. It's not the best, and I think that's part of its problem. But yeah, that is all I can really say about this. The next films I'm going to be doing is Gorgo and Godzilla 1998. Because that film was really long, and Gorgo is actually quite a short kaiju film, so they fit perfectly together. And I've been wanting to do Gorgo for ages. It's a film I've watched. Oh shit! When did I watch that? Early 2021. I think I watched it for the first time. Yeah, because that's when Godzilla vs Kong came out. Was early 2021. And yeah, I think it's a decent attempt. You know, it's one of the I guess the first kind of film that's kind of inspired by Godzilla. Obviously there was like, you know, creature films before Godzilla. But this one feels like the first one that's kind of inspired by Godzilla. You know, Western influence on a Godzilla film, Godzilla-ish film. But yeah, I need to sign off now. So now I'll say, live long and prosper, and hopefully I'll see you in the next video. Bye for now.